Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. The government has partially lifted the lockdown as it now seeks to protect livelihood, which has been disrupted for all of us and it has actually been destroyed for some of us. In this battle to protect livelihood, in this battle to revive the economy, there are two main players who are spearheading the efforts of the country, which is the Reserve Bank of India and the Government of India. The two of them have got distinct and different domains. The Reserve Bank domain, as we often point out, is monetary policy, and that of the government is fiscal policy in general. And in these domains, these two authorities are required to take all that is needed in order to revive a sagging and slowing economy. What we've been noticing is that between these two, which is Reserve Bank of India and the government, it is the RBI which has been relatively more proactive. The Reserve Bank governor has from time to time come and announced measures in order to infuse liquidity into the system, in order to direct credit to those sectors that need it, in order to ensure stability of the financial system, and to also ensure that EMI's payment gets postponed. So we have heard a number of measures taken by the RBI from time to time, even though very often the experience is that they don't really reach the ground reality. But when it comes to the government, it has been surely deficient in the amount of measures that need to be taken in the fiscal domain. All that we saw was an announcement made by the finance minister in the last week of March, announcing a fiscal stimulus of 1.7 crores, which itself was very debatable. In that fiscal stimulus package which was announced, the FM gave relief to the migrant laborers and those sectors. There was no relief that came as far as the business sector is concerned, as far as the MSME sector is concerned. Thus, as part of these efforts, the Reserve Bank of India governor very recently, along with his top team, met the CEOs of private sector and public sector banks. And what they discussed was measures to see that credit is reaching all those sectors where it is needed, particularly MSMEs, NBFCs, microfinance institutions, housing finance companies, and mutual funds. They also discussed how the moratorium of 3 months has been implemented, and the state of the economy was discussed by the RBI top brass with the bank CEOs. Around this time, the Prime Minister also met the Home Minister and the Finance Minister and the top officials of the government in order to take stock of the economy, in order to discuss an elusive fiscal package, in order to see how to divert investment, both domestic and foreign, particularly in India's MSME sector. But as usual, after the discussion, we have heard nothing from the government as far as a fiscal stimulus package is concerned. While it is a known fact that the government's treasury seems to be empty or it doesn't have enough resources, conventionally talking, but what we believe is the fact that a stimulus package which is badly needed, which everybody agrees upon, and which should have already come by now, the fact that it has not yet come probably indicates that the government has not been correct in assessing the state of the economy, the damage that has been done so far, or perhaps the government is oblivious of the hard facts, the truth of the matter, and thus it has been dithering on a badly needed fiscal stimulus package. Perhaps the hard facts of revival and the measures that should be taken and the damage that is being caused are not known to the government fully. Maybe that's what it is. And thus, we would actually like to point out all those hard facts, all those ground realities related to the lockdown, the continued lockdown, its impact on the economy, and what are the measures that need to be taken. Let's discuss them. The first hard fact, the Reserve Bank cannot do what the government can do. As we said, their domains are different. The Reserve Bank can do wholesale lending, as we say, but it cannot do retail lending. Thus, what we are noticing is the Reserve Bank does say that it is pumping liquidity into the system, but it doesn't reach the actual user, and that's because the Reserve Bank can't do retail lending. Further, the Reserve Bank can ease money supply, but it cannot create jobs. That is the domain of the government through fiscal measures which have not come so far. And of course, fiscal policy is not the government's domain. Thus, there is a limitation to what the RBI can do. And at the moment, what needs to be done is in the court of the government. The second hard fact that we think is all of us are in a lockdown. The employers and the employees are both sitting at home. And in our opinion, they are oblivious of the gravity of the crisis when the lockdown will be lifted and the economy will restart. At that point of time, many an employer will find that he can't run his business anymore or that his business has disappeared. And because of that, many an employee will see that his job is gone. Thus, while we are sitting at home, we are far away from the reality which will hit us only when the economy opens up after the lockdown is lifted. And we think the government needs to take steps in order to ameliorate, minimize the crisis that is going to emerge at that point of time. Further, according to us, the longer the lockdown continues, the bigger will be the economic crisis that the government needs to sort out. And that's because the longer the lockdown continues, the more it's going to be a situation where businesses had to only meet expenses and pay EMIs, but they had no income. Resultantly, their working capital funds are going to disappear. And thus, the longer the lockdown continues, it would only mean the longer they have no income and the longer they have to only meet expenses. That means insolvency virtually for many of them. Working capital loss will have to be replenished, and if it is not replenished, enterprises will not be able to restart, jobs will be lost. Thus, the other hard fact is the longer the lockdown continues, the bigger will be the crisis that is getting created. Further, it must be noted that so sudden and severe has been the crisis that what got decimated in a matter of a couple of months is going to take years to revive and restore normalcy. Enterprises, sectors have got decimated in a matter of just a quarter of a closure, which is what looks to us. But they will either not get revived or it will take many years to do so. And that's because this decimation is affecting demand and supply both. It is easy to restart supply, but demand takes years to come at a time when joblessness increases. Thus, it's going to take years, and the government needs to realize that in case it wants to shorten the time of the revival, it will need to infuse or come with a more generous stimulus package. In our opinion, the other hard fact is that a delayed stimulus means a delayed revival, a delayed recovery of the economy, and it is imperative that the government hastens the declaration of a suitable stimulus package. Further, a small stimulus package, a package which is not commensurate with the need of the economy, is going to achieve very little. The crisis will only continue even further. Thus, the government will need to assess the need of the economy properly and come up with a suitable, adequate stimulus package. In our opinion, the partial reopening of the economy is not going to kickstart the economy. The economy will be able to revive itself only after there is a complete lift up of the lockdown. Thus, the present partial lifting of the lockdown is not really helping much in protecting livelihood. And finally, an incorrect policy measure or an insufficient fiscal stimulus package is not going to help to revive a sagging, slowing economy which today has come to a standstill. If that will happen, revival, growth upsurge will not take place, tax collections will not meet their targets, fiscal deficit will only go up, the macros will deteriorate, we will witness yet another round of large NPAs in India, and joblessness will only spread wider and deeper. These are the hard facts that we think are imperative for the government to consider in coming up with the stimulus package, which we hope will be the soonest possible. According to us, it should have been announced quite some time back, but we still hope that it gets announced before the lockdown is fully lifted. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
Now be the first to know about the latest updates on our new news app. Go on your Android or iOS, search for HW News Network. Download our app, choose the language you prefer to get updates in, and be up to date with the latest news.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.